purity culture isn't just a religious issue. It's a human issue, and religion, is some of the fuel. It's part of what makes it work.
Heartfelt conversations can change the world. Here's the Epic Kate podcast.
This is a very special episode welcoming back David Hayward, otherwise known as the Naked Pastor on the internet. He's an awesome guy, and I'm so happy to share this conversation about how he's taking on purity culture. And David is making these weekly comics on Sunday called Sexy Sunday, and he is tackling these purity culture issues, these things that have really ruined intimacy for people. So I, in this episode, got a little bit personal about my experiences with purity culture and my own mindset about myself. And that wasn't easy for me, but I wanted to make it personal because I wanted to make it real. I wanted to make it not hypothetical, but autobiographical. So I hope you'll enjoy this episode, and I hope that you will pass this along, share it with somebody that you think would appreciate it. And yeah, let's jump right in. Hello, and welcome to the Epic Kate podcast. I'm so excited to have David Hayward back. Anyone who's been in anywhere near the deconstructing community has for sure seen his art, has for sure seen his posts. He's very prolific on the internet. He does beautiful work, and he's really lately been sending such an important message out there and helping couples heal from purity culture and how that's affected their intimacy. And I'm just really excited to get the chance to talk to you again. It's been since like 22, 23, almost like 3 years since we talked. So yeah.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy how time flies. I mean, COVID did a number on us in many ways, but one of the ways is just how time just seems to have gone,
Did I miss anything in introducing you? Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm good to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you again.
I'm just really, really thankful for how much time has changed things since the last time we talked. In me innerly. The last time we talked, I was in a much angrier place in the stage of deconstruction of just why is it like this? And I remember that talking to you was one of the things that just was like a balm to my soul of just like, it's okay to be where I'm at. It's okay to be in that anger stage. And I'm happy to say I'm not there. I'm much more like open to wonder and open to possibilities. And I'm loving listening to fairy podcasts now. I'm like, ooh, there's magic out there.
That's really important. Like I even sell a print that says, to feel the feels, and because I think it's important to actually feel what you're feeling, so that we can process it. If we dismiss it or reject it or deny it or suppress it or whatever, we're just stalling the process. So yeah, give yourself permission to be angry because you'll get through it quicker. And that's not to say that you won't circle around and, visit anger again. But, once you know how to feel your feels and really fully feel your emotions, legitimize them, then we heal quicker. So that's cool. I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, you have been talking, I mentioned briefly in the introduction, you've been talking a lot about intimacy in your postings. I wanted to know a bit about you and your wife's love story and how purity culture and those things hindered you guys in your enjoyment of each other.
Yeah. So I forget when I started, but it's been over a year now because I've been drawing a cartoon every Sunday, and and writing a post most of the time. I'm calling it Sexy Sunday because I'm I'm challenging purity culture. And I have about 90 of them. So if I do 52 a week, I've been doing it for, 90 weeks, whatever that adds up to. So eventually my goal is to get enough to make a book out of them. But yeah, I decided to challenge purity culture because it's everywhere. It's prolific right across the board. And I know Lisa and I were exposed to purity culture. Me more because I was raised in a Christian home and went to a Baptist church and got saved and went to a Pentecostal church and all that kind of thing. And purity culture was alive and well in that kind of culture. Then I went to Bible college, a Pentecostal Bible college, and purity culture there for sure. Now, Lisa didn't grow up in a Christian home, my wife, and she became a believer in her teen years, later in her teen years, and then ended up going to Bible college. So uh, purity culture for her was not as ingrained. It wasn't as much a part of her DNA as it was with me. But we met. She was just 18 and I was like 20, and started dating and in a Bible college at Pentecostal Bible College, and where there was like the 6-inch rule and everything, where you couldn't be closer than 6 inches from each other.
Had to have space for a Bible and the Holy Spirit between you.
Yeah, that whole thing. So, uh, and then I graduated in 80, and we got married 2 days after, and she was 19, I was 21, and that began our marriage life. So that's like going on 44 years. We're going to be 44 years married in May. So yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
And we have
So,
3 grown kids, and they're off on their own. But yeah, it's been a ride, that's for sure.
so did the school did they enforce the very strict no contact at all rules over there?
Pretty much. I mean, we could get away with some things, but not publicly for sure. But Lisa had a car. We took advantage of that. And lots can happen in a car. And we it was interesting because when I look back on it now, even though we were immersed in purity culture there and surrounded by it, somehow it didn't uh, produce in us a feeling of transgression. Like when we got married, we never had intercourse until we were married. But we certainly did fool around a lot before we were married. But there wasn't a lot of guilt associated with that, which I feel very fortunate, about, because I had a lot of friends who were just overcome with guilt.
Mm.
And it was pounded into them. It was ingrained in them to feel guilty about and shame about their bodies and everything about their bodies, including desire and passion and all those things. Masturbation absolutely was a no-no, and all that stuff, right? And so certainly, what they called back then a heavy petting or anything like that was off limits. I mean, it was totally not allowed. And I had friends who, couple friends who felt so guilty about kissing or things like that, that they would go and confess their sins to the dean or whatever, the dean of students. And I'd be like, don't do it. Don't do it. Because you're going to get kicked out. And sure enough, like I had friends that got kicked out of Bible college
Oh.
because they confessed that they'd touched each other or, kissed or whatever. Right. Or if somebody confessed that they were addicted to masturbation or whatever, they would confess and get kicked out. So, that whole purity culture, the control and the authority and the power of those in authority over people's lives is just unbelievable. And so, but Lisa and I somehow managed to navigate that while enjoying one another and playing around and all that. But it was, we somehow didn't feel the overwhelming guilt that a lot of people feel in the purity
Why do you
culture.
think that is?
Well, I think part of it is, like I said, Lisa wasn't as uh, ingrained.
Mm,
She wasn't as brainwashed by it.
that's
And I
true.
think Lisa was a lot more free from all that and thought it was just nonsense. Whereas I was very, a very good boy and very obedient and, did not want to break any rules and all that. But somehow I think her freedom infiltrated my spirit, and I somehow felt some freedom there and some permission.
Do you think
And
that that was a little chink in the armor towards deconstructing eventually? Like,
um
I should be feeling bad about this, shouldn't I?
for me, deconstruction began with questioning the inspiration of scripture. That for me
Mm,
was the beginning. It was all theological. That's how it
mm.
began with me. Um, Lisa and I, when it comes to the whole purity culture thing and sex and everything, have appreciated a great deal of freedom and joy in it. Where, so like I'll post a sexy Sunday cartoon. And I have to be careful because, some of them have been taken down. Now they're all, in my opinion, they're all PG. There's nothing showing, but you know what's going on. But like a couple in bed or whatever, having a conversation or whatever. And the comments I hear from people, um, in the private messages I get from people who struggle with the whole purity culture thing. There's a lot of people out there who just cannot enjoy themselves. They're ashamed of their bodies, they're ashamed of their desires, they can't enjoy sex, even with their married partner, they just there's just so much guilt and shame and should, ought, and must, and should, and um,
They they would go their whole lives repressing it all, but then as soon as the wedding night hits, you're supposed to turn into a sex goddess.
that's right. And it doesn't work like that, right? So it's quite profound that there are many people who are many years married still working through all of this stuff. And I'm really happy to be contributing to their healing. I hear from people saying, keep up these sexy Sunday cartoons. I just love them and they're helping me, get over my hang-ups and get over the purity culture thing and all. I think it helps people to see that there's no reason to be ashamed of your body. There's no reason to try to suppress your desires or your passions or your wants. And it's okay for a woman to say, I want this. This feels good. Do this for me. And for a lot of women, they're like, oh my goodness, like, really? I can desire, I can make requests, I can direct a man on how to give me pleasure and all this kind of thing. It really goes against the grain of what they've been taught theologically, right? With the
Yeah,
patriarchy
the
and
patriarchy, man. That's like it's all about the man. It's all like this is
yeah,
going to be a pain in the butt for you, but at least if you do it regularly, he won't cheat on you.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I just saw that this week sometime where that was one of the reasons given was, ladies, you need to give it up whenever he wants it so that he won't, go elsewhere to get it, right? And it just promotes, first of all, the man must have serious issues if, he can't get it one night, so he's going to go get it somewhere else. and also the fear it promotes in a woman where, all it takes is one no,
Mm,
or one headache, or I don't feel like it, to lose her husband. It's crazy,
really?
crazy. Yeah.
I was thinking about those friends of yours that you were trying to tell, don't tell. Like, did they trusted you enough to share their guilt too? It wasn't just to the heads of the school.
Well, yeah, like we were friends, and they were saying they were just overcome with guilt, just guilt ridden, that they had felt they'd gone too far and they needed to confess. See, because that's the double barrel of of purity culture, is that you shouldn't do this, but if you do, you need to confess your sins to those in authority. So you're just stuck, you're caught. There's no secrets, right? And yeah, so we tried to convince them, but their overwhelming guilt, coupled with their overwhelming sense of responsibility to confess their sins to the dean of students or whatever, it just I lost touch with them. I had no idea whatever happened to them.
Mm.
But I don't know if they got married or whatever. I have no idea what happened, but they were kicked out of Bible college. The next day they were gone. The next day, it was like they were just wiped off the planet. So it that's how powerful the church can be if we give it that kind of power. It can just change your life instantly like that.
What do you think are ways that people can kind of overcome that brainwashing and that fear of their selves, man? It's just so sad to think of being afraid of your own self, of your own body. But I mean, of course, women are told to be afraid of them because it's their fault, their bodies, no matter if they're wearing a paper bag or a one-piece swimsuit, it's their fault for causing the man to stumble. But
Mhm.
but how do people overcome brainwashing?
Well, for some, it they can. I've seen some where they're like, "Holy smokes, I was duped. That's all bullshit," and then just turn around, change their lives just like that. Yeah. Um, and and then there's other people that takes a while. It takes therapy and processing it, because to feel guilty about something one day and then not feel guilty about it the next day, that's really, really difficult for a lot of people. So it takes it takes a process. Shame is so it like stains, it goes so deep, it permeates, percolates right down into the center, into the core of our being. And so for a lot of women and men, shame, it's really hard to uproot that very, very deep primal emotion. And but I've seen some people, they can get over it quite quickly, and then others it can take years, a
And,
process.
and talking about that shame, it made me think about our LGBTQ siblings and how
Yeah.
their very existence, it kind of goes right along with that, of
Yeah.
just who you are is not acceptable before God.
Yeah, that's true.
Overcome
Um,
that. Whew.
yeah, and it comes down to, that's not about behavior, that's about identity, right? So if somebody realizes that they're gay and they come out as gay, and they're attracted to same sex and all that. Yeah, there's their lifestyle, you know, of enjoying same sex. But then there's also accepting who they are and loving themselves as they are. And we see the same kind of thing with people coming out of purity culture, where they it's okay to touch another person with consent, right? This is all I'm presuming it's all consensual. It's okay to touch another person, and it's okay to feel and be passionate and to desire another person. So yeah, to accept yourself as somebody who has desires and can act on them responsibly, right? Consensually. That's it is similar to the LGBTQ plus community for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was one of those kids, full of hormones as we all are. That was just I'm absolute garbage for anything that I did before I was married. I was in a relationship with this guy that I felt like, well, I did so much fooling around with him, I have to get married. Like,
Yeah,
there's no choice, there's no getting out of this one. It's the only way to make it right. And
that yeah, I've seen that too, where I wrote a book actually called Till Doubt Do Us Part, When Changing Beliefs Change Your Marriage. And there's a couple chapters in there. The book is intended to help people who are married and going through deconstruction, helping their marriage to survive that traumatic transition. Um, but there are a couple chapters in there that say, some of you may realize when you're going through deconstruction, hey, I don't think I should have gotten married. I don't think we should have got married. And there's all kinds of reasons why. Maybe a prophet came through town and said, you should marry her. I know people who've gotten married because a prophet told them they should, or because that they felt that was the only way they could have sex, um, legally, you know, or that just the church culture pushed them towards each other, and it was a very tight community, and it was almost like an arranged marriage, and there's all kinds of reasons, and a lot of people who are going through deconstruction, say a decade later, are like, I don't think I love you. Like, I don't think we ever loved each other. And they kind of come to a mutual agreement to what they call these days a conscious uncoupling, and go their own ways. And that can happen. I've seen that happen as well, where they're like, I don't think we were meant to be married. And so they do the right thing and go their separate ways,
wow.
hopefully congenially, but yeah, I've seen that happen to a lot of people.
I'm so glad I didn't go through with it. I could not really see myself with this person for the long haul. And I ran away and joined the circus, aka Covenant Players. And
Oh,
I didn't realize it was getting away from him, but it was. I wanted to have these adventures and do theater and travel around the world, but
mm.
I knew, and the soul, the deep part of me needed space between him to realize that this is not a good situation.
Wow.
And
I didn't realize that you were talking about yourself, but yeah, you dodged a bullet there, did you?
oh gosh. You have no idea. I dodged a few bullets before I finally found my awesome husband who loves me for who I am. And yeah.
That's
So
cool.
I've never really talked so openly about the sexy things of like myself or that on this podcast, but I mean, it's got to be personal or it doesn't mean anything, you know? It's like we can speculate on topics and what people might feel, but it's like what's really true, how I felt, that I felt I would write poems of was once well loved. I'm a crushed rose. I'm nothing. I'm gross and disgusting. And my husband and I, oh, people will be very shocked to know we fooled around a bit before we were married. And for the longest time, years into our marriage, I was just like so sure that we were supposed to feel guilty about that, and
Yeah.
that this was eventually going to come to a place where it really hurt our marriage. But it didn't.
I know, I know.
14 years in June. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations. Wow. Yeah, it's man. I mean, Lisa and I were just kids when we got married, right? Like I was 21, she was 19.
My husband is 21, I was 23.
Yeah. And what did we know? My goodness. We thought we knew everything, but we didn't know anything compared to now. I wish I knew then what I know now, man. Um, but all those warnings that we were given. I mean, I had a pastor who was going to marry us sit me down and told me not to marry Lisa, that it was a mistake. And he said, she wears jeans and she wears makeup and she goes to movies,
That harlot.
goes to movie theaters, and that she had a reputation. Like Lisa, she's beautiful now, but as a young woman, she was like stunning, beautiful. Like she was in pageants and all this kind of stuff. And I have no idea how I landed her, to be honest, but she had the reputation for being the most beautiful woman in Bible college. I don't know how I got her, but I did. But yeah, so he sat me down and told me I shouldn't marry her because she wore jeans, she wore makeup, she went to the theater. Um, she also had black friends, and yeah, this is down south in Alabama, and that she had a reputation and all that. And I just told him, I said, listen, I love her, she loves me, and we're getting married. Are you going to marry us or not? So
This was the late 70s.
yeah, we got married in 1980. Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy how far we've come, but it's how far we still need to go. That really wasn't that long ago.
No, no, that's true. But that's all out of that purity culture thing, right? Where the whole idea that the knight in shining armor marries the virgin, and uh it's just crazy. It's just and it's so damaging to so many people because I don't know anybody who was well, I do actually know. I was going to say I don't know anybody who was Snow White before, they got married, like pure, absolutely pure. But I actually do know a few. I know of one couple who got married and they had never kissed or even held hands before, not even with each other. And that
One
marriage,
awkward wedding night.
that marriage didn't even last a year.
Look
So
how
why I'm just chatting here, but like I'm having a lot of fun with the Sexy Sunday cartoons because like I'm not a marriage counselor, right? I'm not a psychotherapist. I've got counseling courses and everything to do pastoral counseling because I was a pastor for many years and I went to seminary and all that kind of thing. I've also got coaching stuff, and I've also got spiritual direction stuff and all that, but I'm not a marriage therapist, like a licensed counselor. So that's always a disclaimer.
mm,
But you have a lot of stories to share and a lot of experience and a lot of interaction with a lot of people. And so that's what I'm basically sharing on with these Sexy Sunday cartoons, is just trying to challenge the purity culture. I came out of that and survived it. And Lisa and I are thriving in our marriage and in our sex life. And I want others, like, it should be fun. This should be fun. Like, like sex should be fun, right?
oh,
And it's
drudgery.
it's also damn serious. Like it's so serious and somber and intentional and procreative and
Wow.
godly, the marriage bed, and like it's just like, man, I just want people, and again, I'm emphasizing consensual people, mutually consensual, to just enjoy themselves, to throw off those shackles of religion and just enjoy themselves with each other.
I've heard some stuff about there being really easy to see connections between purity culture and white supremacy. That it's like it's the purity of the white woman, especially. Like we got to keep that purity so we can keep things as white as possible.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's all interconnected for sure. Uh,
If you could add anything to that.
well, one of my new favorite writers is Bell Hooks. And she passed away in 21, I think it was. But a Black woman writer, and just profound, like it was like a discovery for me. And I wish she was still alive. But I'd been hearing her name there about, on Twitter and stuff like that, and the Me Too movement, and Black Lives Matter, and so on. But she wrote a lot about white supremacy and blackness and um, spirituality, sexuality, like all about those things. And she really did, she talked a lot about intersectional issues. So intersectional feminists. So for example, an a woman would experience discrimination at work, but if she was a Black woman, she would experience the double discrimination from being a woman and then from being Black. And then if she is lesbian, she would experience that kind of discrimination for being queer. So, you have that intersection of different identities that can make discrimination worse for some people than for others. And so she talked about that a lot, about intersectional kind of issues. And yeah, it's the same with purity culture. It aligns with another power broker, and that's whiteness, and then maleness, and all those kinds of, it's an intersectional issue. And it's like I said in a post yesterday that purity culture isn't just a religious issue. It's a human issue, and religion is some of the fuel. It's part of what makes it work, is the religion. And because we can see purity culture, for example, on, let's say, TikTok, where I can't post my Sexy Sunday cartoons. They keep getting taken down. It's weird.
So you mentioned that you have lots of stories of people that have reached out to you. What are a few that just really, they're the ones that just really sit heavy on you in a good or bad way?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who contact me privately, and they say, I couldn't even like your cartoon because I didn't want other people to see that I liked it, or I can't make a comment because other people would see it. And mostly they're women who are in horrible marriages.
Mm.
That's what I mostly hear from. They're women trapped in a patriarchal style purity culture marriage, where they have to obey their husbands, submit to their husbands, um, provide sex whenever their husbands demand it. And and sometimes it gets really complicated for them because they've got children by now, some of them, and they want out, but they've already given up on their husbands ever changing. And so, yeah, that's what mostly who I hear from are women trapped in terrible marriages. See, this is the thing with a lot of men, is that there's no incentive. The only incentive for a man to change, especially a straight white man, the only incentive to change is because they want to be a better person. They just want to be a better person, and to be a better husband, and to be a better man in the relationship, and so on, and love their wives unconditionally, and be supportive and caring and all that. There's there's no one, like, there's no incentive to change. Like, if there was an incentive to change, that they get more money or get more sex or get more power or whatever, but there's no incentive. They've already got everything. And so the only incentive for a lot of men to change is that they just want to become a better person. And unfortunately, a lot of men don't think they need to become a better person. And so a lot of women give up on the hope that their man's going to change in any way. There's
Man,
nothing incentivizing them.
That is so effing heartbreaking, man. Just thinking about people stuck and just disassociating during sex because that's all there is left to it. Like that is just knife in the chest.
Yeah,
Hurt for them. Like what they really, if it was, I totally understand. Like I'm a mom. I can't imagine like if in an alternate universe my husband was a butthole and I was stuck in it. I couldn't just leave my kids with him, and I
mhm,
couldn't just take them because especially in Sweden, you can get away with everything here, but you can't separate a kid from their parent. That you can call and say abuse is happening, but if the parents don't want to take action, they can't force them to take action. Sweden sucks in that way. Like they really need to get their act together and actually care about stuff and actually force their way in even when people don't want help. But
right.
I oh there has to be more help for people to get away from abuse like that.
Mm, yeah.
It's crazy that there's people that literally don't think that RAPE is possible in a marriage.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, there's women, yeah, and these are a lot of the women I hear from where they're essentially, it's marital rape, where
Yeah, it is.
they're having sex against their will. And
If it's not an enthusiastic yes, it's a no.
that's right. I agree.
It must be so heavy in your heart just reading these messages and not being able to do anything. But I guess what you have is your art to just keep putting it out there and keep pushing back
Yeah.
against.
Yeah, and I keep encouraging them. Like I do say, look, I know a lot of people who've left marriage and it's never clean, it's always messy. And there is a period of time when it's really unsettling and traumatic and cataclysmic. But in the long run, you'll be happy again. And so I encourage people to take steps towards their own liberation and uh, for them to take a stand and to say no or whatever, like to take a stand and to, you know, be themselves if it's safe, of course, if it's safe. Um, but there's a lot of women just can't take that risk because of children or because of the fear of retaliation or whatever.
A
But
home.
I am seeing women taking a stand and losing a lot, but eventually finding their own freedom and happiness.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
I've actually had some conversations on my podcast with people who've gotten out.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe, and I have a feeling that you might be there with me, that all the evangelical prayer for what's the word? Revival. Praying
Yeah.
for revival, praying for God to shake things up, to break the foundations, to let his presence be known, or her presence be known. Um, this is it.
Mhm.
Deconstruction, breaking down purity culture. This is God moving to shake things up and bust the truth out.
Well, I think it's a good thing, this whole deconstruction thing. I mean, deconstruction's always been around. We just started calling it that for
Mm,
it's just spiritual growth
yeah.
and becoming spiritually independent. But yeah, there's a lot of people resisting it, that's for sure, and criticizing it. I mean, there's whole books out on it now, warning people against deconstruction. So um, I know all about it.
Warning against spiritual growth. I've
Yeah,
been
there's a book out called Deconstruction by Childers and Bennett, I think. And the opening line of the book is apostasy is nothing new. So I knew that, oh, I know where this is going. But
I'm actually
that's how they label deconstruction, basically. It's apostasy. And
mm,
people not only leaving orthodoxy, but the church.
I'm actually reading a book that you have your name's on it. I think you did the foreword, or it was just this is a really good book, you should read it thing line on the front.
Oh yeah.
It's it's a book about how to read the Bible in a different way with things meaning different. Oh shoot.
Oh yeah.
It's
Uh,
to-
Heather Hamilton. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you wrote, this book is food that will benefit many on their own spiritual journeys.
Yeah. Yeah. Heather and I are friends, and yeah, it's a good book. It's a good read. It gives us some scriptural um, references for people who are deconstructing and who need something like that. So yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Just thinking about the spiritual growth, the second half of life, the false self, our egos that are needed, the dualistic nature that is needed to get us
Mhm.
through and build our identities and help us navigate and be in the present in the world. But
Right.
beyond that, beyond
Yeah.
that, to actually become something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you do now to feed your soul, and what helps you to get up in the morning and fight for people out there that are stuck?
Oh man. Well, I just love what I do. I I get up in the morning, I make my coffee, I read some contemplative material, I write in my journal, and then I do some breathing exercises and meditation and stretching, and then I go for a run, and then, I do some weights and all that. That's the first couple hours of my day. It's just totally self-care. And then I start working, like drawing cartoon, writing a post, interacting with people in the comments, answering emails, and then, I've got a book on the go. I'm writing another book. Um, it's my 11th. Uh,
Hey.
and trying to do some videos here and there and painting and all. I've just got so many things on the go and I enjoy it all. So for me, it's no effort. Like you said earlier, I'm pretty prolific. But it just, pours out of me. So I just enjoy what I do and it just pours out of me and I just do what I can to keep up. So then I really do love seeing other people feel heard and seen and validated and encouraged to be themselves. Like that's what I want for me. I want to be myself. I want to be my authentic self. And I try to provide safe spaces for other people to do the same.
Mm. Well, you're doing an amazing job with all of this and putting that love and that truth out there for the people that need to hear it, and just
Well, it's all about love. It really is. Really come to that conclusion. It really is all about love. And love is just love. And so I just want to love people and everyone. We're all connected at a deep and fundamental level. Love is appreciating that and respecting that and honoring that and living that. So I try to do that every day.
oh man, spoken like a true apostate.
Yeah, apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, these hippy dippy love people.
Yeah.
They should be more
True.
like Jesus and condemn people to hell. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I do get criticized. Like people are like, well, yeah, love, but there's different kinds of love. And um, anyway, it sounds like a lot of people are trying to find any excuse they can to not love, right?
mm.
And it's unfortunate because love just doesn't do that.
How do you deal with the criticism and the negativity directed to you and your intentions and your state of your soul?
Well, it used to bother me, but it doesn't really bother me now. I mean, some people say really nasty things, and some of them are kind of eye-opening, like, whoa, like, wow. But I I just, I think a lot of people are hurting and angry and afraid, and, you know, um, I tried to just remember that this isn't about me, that nasty comment. It's more about them than me. And I just try to remember that, that they've got their own struggles and fears and darkness and ignorance and all that. And um, when I say we're all connected at a deep and fundamental level, and that knowing that and appreciating that and nurturing that is love, that includes people who hate me. So
Yeah.
I just remember that and
They
try to.
they hate they're resisting the growth. Like,
Mhm.
especially you talked about the men that have no reason to change, really. Being having the light shown on the fact that, hey, what you've been doing to your wife hasn't exactly been pleasurable for her. You're actually an asshole. Like, nope, they
Yeah,
don't want to hear that. What if they don't get it as regularly?
yeah, yeah, it's true. So that's what I do. That's my vocation, and I'm doing my best to do it well. And talking with people like you on podcasts, and yeah, it's fun.
Oh, it's awesome.
Hopefully we can make the world a better place.
Yeah, we already are. We
Yeah.
and I can't even begin to imagine how many lives you've impacted with your art, with your authenticity and love, just pouring out of your fingertips onto the internet every single day. I can't. It's probably in the hundreds of thousands. I'm really bad at math, so I pulled that number out of my bottom, but it probably is.
Well, thanks. We appreciate that.
Hmm. Is there any last words of encouragement and love that you'd like to put out onto here before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just, it's time to take the wheel. Take the wheel of your life. Drive your own life. Be the driver of your own life, the captain of your ship, the master of your destiny. That's you. That's your responsibility. That's your right. That's your reward. So, and I'm here for you if you need. And I'm really good at responding to messages and emails and all that. And I'm here to just validate you and encourage you. So,
Yeah, great. Thank you.
see ya.
Bye.
I
Thank you so much for listening to this. There's so much to think about, and I don't know. It's so heartbreaking to think about people stuck and trapped. I'm going to include some resources down below for people who have been struggling and realizing the fact that they are being taken advantage of, that they are not in a safe situation. And if they're still in a place of faith and feeling like God wants them to be treated like this, I really hope that there becomes a niggling in the mind of saying, and a whisper of truth to the heart that says, no one deserves to be used. No one. God doesn't call anyone to suffer. A lot of us have had a lot to relearn about faith, about what we choose to believe, and what fear and judgment we choose to take up upon ourselves and be burdened with. And it's such a journey to just break free of the brainwashing and come out on the other side. So that's a lot of the work of this channel, is finding new perspectives, breaking outside the box, being exposed to things that can help us to learn compassion and to grow in love and to make this world a better place. And if you would like to support this work, I would love to let you. I have a PayPal, and once enough people are expressing interest that it does seem to be worth the time and effort, I would like to eventually move to a Patreon situation to have more content available there, to have podcasts recorded just for that, just for people who want to support me on a monthly ongoing basis. if you would like to share your personal purity culture story, either here in a podcast or just to talk and connect with me, I would love to do that. I would love to connect with you through email, through hopping on a chat. I want to hear what's on your heart, and I want to honor your story. So, thank you so much, and yes, hugs.
I'm so glad you're still here. Please like this video, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe. Bye!